Hi, it's Christine. Welcome back to Praying for the Rapture or Resurrection. We're in week 77, on video 77. Let's go to Revelation chapter 13. Revelation chapter 13. And he stood on the sand of the seashore, and I saw a great beast coming up out of the sea, having 10 horns and 7 heads, and on his horns were 10 diadems, and on his heads were blasphemous names. And the beast which I saw was like a leopard, and his feet were like those of a bear, and his mouth like the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power, and his throne, and great authority. And I saw one of his heads as if it had been slain, and his fatal wound was healed, and the whole earth was amazed, and followed after the beast. And they worshipped the dragon because he gave his authority to the beast, and they worshipped the beast, saying, Who is like the beast, and who is able to wage war with him? And there was given to him a mouth speaking arrogant words and blasphemies, and authority to act for 42 months was given to him. Again, that second half of the tribulation. And he opened his mouth in blasphemies against God, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle, that is, those who dwell in heaven. And it was given to him to make war with the saints and to overcome them, and authority over every tribe and people and tongue and nation was given to him. And all who dwell on the earth will worship him, everyone whose name has not been written from the foundation of the world in the book of life of the Lamb who has been slain. All right. So let's dive into all of this. This particular beast would be the Antichrist, who is the antitype of Jesus Christ. If Satan is the antitype of God the Father, the Antichrist is the opposite of Jesus. And he is a beast. Now, the description includes leopard, bear, lion. And then it talks about a mouth speaking arrogant blasphemies. And it talks about 10 horns, 7 heads, 10 diadems or crowns on the 10 horns, and blasphemous names. So let's look at Daniel 7 briefly. Almost there. Daniel 7. So now we're at the prophetic vision of Daniel, which we've looked at before, but I would like to look at it again in light of this chapter in Revelation. So he talks about, in Daniel 7, 4 great beasts coming up out of the sea. The first was like a lion and had the wings of an eagle. The second one resembled a bear. And the third resembled, another one is like a leopard, which had on its back 4 wings. And then a fourth beast, dreadful, terrifying, extremely strong, and it had large iron teeth. It devoured and crushed and trampled down the remainder with its feet, and it was different from all the beasts that were before it. And it had 10 horns. While I was contemplating the horns, behold, another horn, a little one, came up among them, and 3 of the first horns were pulled out by the roots before it. So now it's down to 7. And behold, this horn possessed eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth uttering great boasts. And then if we look at 2 Thessalonians 2, 8, and 9. Second Thessalonians 2, 8 and 9. Let's look at 3, actually. Let no one in any way deceive you, for it will not come unless the apostasy comes first, and the man of lawlessness is revealed, the son of destruction, who opposes and exalts himself above every so-called God or object of worship, so that he takes his seat in the temple of God, displaying himself as being God. For the mystery of lawlessness is already at work. Only he who now restrains it will do so until he is taken out of the way. And then that lawless one will be revealed, whom the Lord will slay with the breath of his mouth, and bring to an end by the appearance of his coming. That is, the one whose coming is in accord with the activity of Satan, with all power and signs and false wonders. So again, Satan gives him his power, and he is the Antichrist. Nations that exalt humanity above God become demonic. So it's talking about the head representing, if you remember way back when we were in Daniel, the beasts represented the kingdoms, but there were 2 that were personified or given human qualities. And in this case, everyone is worshiping this person instead of worshiping God. We can also look at Daniel 9 and 11. Okay. Daniel 9, we're going to verse 27. And he will make a firm covenant with the many for 1 week. So the Antichrist makes a covenant with Israel for 7 days. But in the middle of the week, 7 years, in the middle of the week, in the middle of the tribulation, in the middle of the 7 years, he will put a stop to sacrifice and grain offerings, and on the wing of abominations will come one who makes desolate, even until a complete destruction. One that is decreed is poured out on the one who makes desolate. So, until he is taken out of the way, until the Antichrist is defeated. Then the king, so if we look at Daniel 11, we'll go to verse 36. Daniel 11, verse 36. Then the king will do as he pleases. This is talking about the Antichrist. And he will exalt and magnify himself above every god, and will speak monstrous, blasphemous things against the God of gods. And he will prosper until the indignation is finished, for that which is decreed will be done. And he will show no regard for the gods of his fathers, or for the desire of women, nor will he show regard for any other god, for he will magnify himself above them all. But instead he will honor a god of fortresses, a god whom his fathers did not know. He will honor him with gold, silver, costly stones, and treasures. And he will take action against the strongest of fortresses with the help of a foreign god. So he's helped by Satan. He will give great honor to those who acknowledge him, and he will cause them to rule over the many, and will parcel out land for a price. Let's see. I think there is one more, Matthew 24, that we'll take a quick look at. In the Mount Olivet Discourse. All right, in Matthew 24:15, it says, "Therefore, when you see the abomination of desolation, which was spoken of through Daniel the prophet, standing in the holy place, let the reader understand. then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. So this is in Daniel 9:27, where it talks about the abomination which causes desolation. And he is referencing that, saying that when you see the Antichrist, flee. Let him who's on the housetop not go down to get the things out that are in his house, and let him who is in the field not turn back to get his cloak. But woe to those who are with child, and to those who nurse babes in those days. But pray that your flight may not be in the winter or on a Sabbath, for then there will be great tribulation, such as not occurred since the beginning of the world until now, nor ever shall. Okay. And then talking about the book of life of the Lamb is referred to in other places as well. It's the Lamb's book of life, where people who are saved have their name written. Let me check one last thing in Isaiah 28. Isaiah 28. All right. Therefore, hear the word of the Lord, O scoffers, who rule this people who are in Jerusalem, because you have said, we have made a covenant with death, and with Sheol we have made a pact. The overwhelming scourge will not reach us when it passes by, for we have made falsehood our refuge, and we have concealed ourselves with deception. Therefore, thus says the Lord God, behold, I am laying in Zion a stone, a tested stone, a costly cornerstone, for the foundation, firmly placed. He who believes in it will not be disturbed. And I will make justice the measuring line and righteousness the level. Then hail shall sweep away the refuge of lies, and the waters shall overflow the secret place. And your covenant with death shall be cancelled, and your pact with Sheol shall not stand. When the overwhelming scourge passes through, then you become its trampling place. As often as it passes through, it will seize you. For morning after morning it will pass through, any time during the day or night, and it will be sheer terror to understand what it means. So this covenant with death or pact with Sheol is with the Antichrist or Satan, because they're making a pact with the one who destroys, the opposite of Christ who gives life, the opposite of God who creates. But the cornerstone that the builders rejected, or the tested stone, the costly cornerstone for the foundation, would be Jesus Christ. It's referring to him as our only refuge. So if you take refuge in him, he will save you. That is our hope. That is our future. And that's where we'll end it for today. I hope you all have a wonderful week. God bless. Take care.